We welcome you to the September 2022 Big Questions from the Rossmore Interfaith Council, I4C, and today's speakers, Pastor Jacqueline Duhart from Starr King and Reverend Dr. Abigail and Stephen Albert from All Faith Center in Poway, California, Point Win in Nain as well. We welcome you all and glad that you're here. We like to do land acknowledgements to remember the lands upon which we work, serve, and play. And as we've learned more about the Ohlone and Bay Miwok and Tachiyokoots people, we've also turned our sights to other indigenous peoples around the world. Today we remember the Cherokee people in this acknowledgement, and that they are a people divided into the Eastern Cherokee Band, the Southern Cherokee, the Northern Cherokee. And we remember that in 1838, the Cherokee Indians became the fifth major tribe to experience forced relocation within the United States. The Cherokee Nation moved from its ancestral homeland in parts of North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama to land set aside for them in what is now the state of Oklahoma. And we've broken every treaty that we've ever had with First Nation peoples as we recognize this. More than 15,000 Cherokee Native people were removed by the U.S. Army. The Choctaw, the Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole tribes were the other tribes that were forced to relocate. Over 100,000 Native Americans from the 5 tribes were forced to move. These people were held in concentration-like camps through the summer, and then they were forced to travel over 1,000 miles under very hard conditions to Indian Territory. Along the trail, nearly 4,000 Cherokee died of starvation, exposure, or disease. The Cherokee came to call this forced move Nunahi Duna Delol Hului, or the trail where they cried. The result of the U.S. government's American Indian removal policy devastated American Indian cultures. The Native Americans had been a strong and vibrant part of North American history, what they call Turtle Island, and what the government did to these people is difficult to understand and accept. In 1987, Congress passed the Public Law 100 to 192, designating 2 of the routes taken by the Cherokee people in their removal as a National Historic Trail within the National Trail System. Today, it is best known as the Trail of Tears. The forced removal of Native American Indians remains the black mark on American history and reminds those who desire freedom that all people deserve a life of liberty, regardless of race, religion, or ethnicity. We welcome Sarah Blackstock from Rossmore to get us started with our program.
Thank you, Will. That's certainly a powerful and sad reminder. And we go forth. So welcome to you adventurers and explorers of life's big questions. It's always so good to see people that have been with us for quite a while, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We've been doing this for 6 years now. So and it's always so good to see new people. Thank you to Susie Cole, the president of the Interfaith Council, Rossmore Interfaith Council, and to the Big Questions Committee, Ruth Ahern, raise your hand, Ruth, and Channing Miller, raise your hand, Channing. Sunshine's not here today, but these ladies have been my guides for all 6 years, and I deeply appreciate them. So thanks also to Channel 28. So our big question, how can there be peace in today's world, has put us through our paces as we have been challenged to delve deeper and deeper into the question and the answers. We think of the opposite of peace as war. Aside from the typical definitions of war, other words which come to mind and come from the dictionary are struggle and conflict. Now, we are an evolutionary world. Obviously, we weren't just poofed out here perfect, the opposite actually. So struggle is a part of life. Even, babies being born is a tremendous struggle for most women. So the opposite of peace does war, which is the opposite of peace, have to be part of our life? This preliminary question brings up other issues. If it is unrealistic or naive to think we can eliminate conflict and struggle, which granted are a natural part of life, does war have to be a natural part of the evolutionary struggle? War implies hostility, antagonism, and hate, to name a few of the really bad words. How can there be peace in our neighborhoods, our country, our nations, when there are individuals, and this is a real question that bothers me a lot, when there are individuals and leaders who insist on autocratic control? Their way is the only way. Should such leaders and individuals be ignored, even though they are the source of so much harm and trouble? They don't seem to go away. When an autocratic leader of a country tries and often succeeds at controlling the population and will do so by violence, what recourse does that population have? You know, it's popular to say we are all one. I hear it, hear it a lot, and all religions probably say it too. But if there are individuals, here's another question that really bothers me. If there are individuals who act on their hate and their desire for control, are they part of the oneness we all desire? That's a good discussion someday down the road. And in the presence of this warring aspect, how do we maintain our personal experience of peace, that wholeness, that center? In the presence of one country trying to control another country with oppression and fear, how does the sane world react? How should we react? So it would seem we need to foster internal peace in order to deal with the external warring, in order for oneness to prevail, which I do believe is possible. But how do we do this? So let's hear what our speakers today have to offer. Welcome to Pastor Jacqueline. I was told that that's the right way to say your name. Is that correct, Pastor? Jacqueline?
It's Jacqueline.
Jacqueline?
Yeah, it's just the French pronunciation of Jacqueline.
Oh, Jacqueline. Okay, Jacqueline. Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to say that. And so Jacqueline Duhart, Pastor Jacqueline Duhart, who currently serves as the Director of Spiritual Care Services at Starr King School for the ministry. She holds a Master of Divinity from Starr King School for the ministry, alongside a Certificate of Spiritual Direction from the Interfaith Chaplaincy Institute in Berkeley. And we have on this program Channing Miller, who also graduated from Chi. Jacqueline has a Master of Science in Social Work from the University of Texas, Arlington, Texas. She is retired from the United States Air Force in 2000, where she worked for 21 years as a clinical social worker during the Gulf War. I'm absolutely amazed at how you people do all of these things. It's just, there are many other ministries in which Pastor Jacqueline served. These experiences honed her capacity. I love this sentence. These experiences honed her capacity to be with the sorrows, joys, and mysteries of life, while living with bright hope. Pastor Duhart and her partner of 30 plus years live in El Cerrito, California. She identifies as Black, African descent, and feminist. She possesses a fierce commitment to deepening her personal relationships with all that feeds life and nurtures the common good. Welcome, Pastor Jacqueline.
Wow, look at all of these triangles. I mean, these rectangles.
I know, aren't they beautiful?
They're beautiful. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I have my notes. So I'm going to read just so I can be very mindful of time, respectful of your time. Good day, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to be with you and to share my thoughts and hopes on your big form question. This is a gnarly, existential, holy question. My spirit has truly grappled with how to respond. My wrestling invaded my sleep in grand style. Yeah. Before we grapple together, let us engage each other on a more personal level. For the next 5 minutes, I welcome you to be curious about me and with care and respect, ask me questions that rise up in you in this moment. Questions in this moment. Wherever we are at the end of 5 minutes, we will stop and move to what is next. Now that after today, I hope that after today, all of you will welcome me you're welcome to continue being in relationship with me. And I trust that you will do the same, that I can reach out to you. The minister, Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, named this as the fellowship of the swinging door, meaning that you will invite me to get to know you, and I will continue to invite you to get to know me. Reverend Dr. Howard Washington Thurman was the co-founder of the Fellowship of All Peoples in San Francisco. This was the first integrated interfaith congregation in the United States. Who can hold 5-minute timer for us? Thanks, Sarah. So, any questions? Does anybody have any curious questions of me? The table is open for asking questions. We have 5 minutes. Who has a question?
How have you been able to do all of these things? I mean, you don't like you're that old. I mean.
I thank you, Sarah, for the question. I am 68.
Oh, will you? No, getting up there.
I'm getting up there, so I'm not young anymore. 68 isn't ancient, but it's not young. And I have the philosophy that when I die, I've always had this thought, I want to be used up. I just want to be used up. You know, I want to be used up. So when it comes to my time to die, I can just say, okay, there's nothing left. My kidneys aren't working anymore. My pancreas isn't working anymore. My heart is iffy. I just want to be used up. And so to be used up, I have to be busy. I have to be engaged. And I love being alive. I just love being alive. So that's my answer to that question.
Beautiful. Thank you. I love it. You know, Jack London used the same term. I would rather go out as ashes than dust. You know, like a comet. He wanted to be used up.
I want to be used up. Yeah.
Any other questions for Jacqueline?
It isn't exactly a question, but I admire and am curious about the military background. I think.
Sure, go ahead.
No, I think that must have given you a pretty wide vision of life in the world and also understanding of the way people operate.
Thank you for the question, for the comment, Bettina. I agree with you. My dad was in the Army, so as a kid, I knew all about moving and really liked moving. And then when I graduated from graduate school, for a while I worked as a probation officer in Fort Worth, Texas. And Fort Worth, Texas is pretty small. We even call it Cowtown. I just couldn't imagine living the rest of my life in Cowtown. And so at that point, they were, recruiting social workers. There was a big billboard as I drove from work to home. And I'm going like, oh, that sounds like me. And so the military just gave me this opportunity to continue to meet people and to travel and to grow my soul in terms of diversity. I just loved it. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have another 2 minutes left. Oh, go ahead, Sandra.
Yes, so nice to meet you. I saw that you have spiritual care services. What does that entail?
Sure. Both of my part-time jobs for pay is that I'm a director of spiritual care at Starr King School for the ministry, and I'm also a spiritual director. So most of my energies are around accompanying folks who are trying to deepen their understanding, their intimacy with their understanding of Buddha, of God, of Jesus, of Krishna, of whatever their understanding of that which is larger than ourselves. I do accompany people as they're on that journey. And at Starr King, that is my primary focus with students in their formation as becoming ministers. I accompany them through the joys and woes of being in seminary and trying to figure out, is God calling me? Is Mary calling me? Maybe my cat is calling me. But something is calling me into a life of service. What is that? How do I do it? What does it look like? Yeah. So that's what I do for work and for love.
So how
Great.
is that different from spiritual direction?
In spiritual direction, I seldom give suggestions or advice. It's really about deep listening and companionship. Sometimes there's a little guidance, redirection, but at Starr King, I do a lot of guidance, I do a lot of holding, I do a lot of pastoral care. Yeah, so that's the difference. One is much more directive than the other, much more. Yeah. And at school, I use my skills as a social worker a lot, making referrals to more intensive services if that's needed.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We have a few folks that are trying to share, and if you'll use the reaction button and to use your hand, that'll help it make it easier for us to be able to see your hand.
Thank you, Will. That's a good
With that
suggestion.
under reactions, it brings you to the top of our screen too. So thank you.
Took me a long time to discover that hand at the top of the screen. Thank you, Jacqueline. I think we should mention here that you represent the universalist Unitarian path. Is that right? I don't think I mentioned that.
I am a Unitarian Universalist minister. I am.
Right. That's what Starr King School is, right?
That is what Starr King School is. And it's moving more toward an interfaith path as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Channing, I think, Pastor, our 5 minutes is up.
Very short.
Sharing, you got short? Okay.
Very short. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi, Channing.
Long time no see. I just wanted to say, my more recent formation in spiritual direction, it's come to my attention, as well as my adoption of this practice, to call it spiritual companionship, not direction. We're not there to direct people. We're there to be their companion along the journey.
Yes.
So I think that's I've adopted that label for myself.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Channing. So Pastor, we're going to turn it back to you for about another 15 or so minutes, or whatever, whatever pleases you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. So how do you feel now that we are a tad bit more personal with each other? How does it feel? Did anything shift at all?
Closer, more intimate, more welcoming.
Other responses, how does it feel?
It feels connected.
Feels connected. Okay. So I see some nods of heads. It is my experience that this thing called peace is very personal. Understanding how to recognize peace on a personal, community, statewide, global, international level takes vigilance, faithful commitment, and loving tending. Understanding how to plant the seed or seeds of peace, and then to grow and fiercely nurture them as perennial plants. I'm a gardener. As perennial living plants is essential and primary to life's peace gardens. All of this is a long haul and spiritual journey, brightly tinged with mystery. With this said, I will begin to answer the question, how is peace possible in today's world, with what is deeply personal for me? First, I was formed in a family culture where I protected my 4 younger siblings from my parents' domestic violence. When my parents were managing their emotions and seemingly getting along, my heart was suspiciously peaceful. How did I manage this? I was kind and patient and noticed when there was peace between my parents and in our home. And this I celebrated. 2, My father is retired from the Army, from the US Army. In 1972, I graduated from high school, and my family drove from Fort Knox, Kentucky to what would be our new home in San Antonio, Texas. On our drive to Texas, my very dutiful military father was stopped for speeding. My father's body was slammed down on the trunk of our car. He was handcuffed and hauled off to jail. 5 children, that included myself and my mother, were witness to his abuse. This tragedy took place in the morning as the sun began to toast our old car. One by one, my siblings and mother drifted off to sleep. I held watch. The sun had set by the time my father returned to our car on foot. My eyes witnessed his approach, and my heart leaped for joy. With dignity and grace, my father climbed into our car, and like magic, everyone woke up, and the 7 of us were together again in our overcrowded car. And in that moment, we were all at peace. How did I manage this? My internal life was and is rich with stories and songs and imaginary characters. Sojourner Truth reminded me, as that teenage girl leaving high school, that my people, including my dad, was fearless. My heart sang familiar songs as I waited for my father's return. Songs like, when I woke up this morning, my mind is stayed on justice. My spirit, my soul is resourced for peace. For peace. Snippet number 3. While in college, for 4 years, every summer, I worked as an attendant on a non-ambulatory unit in the same nursing home every summer. 2 of my responsibilities as an attendant was to assist patients using a bedpan and to dress their decubi, their bed sores. These 2 responsibilities were highly personal and intimate. They created sacred bonds with those I cared for. In the act of caring for another, my heart rested in peace. My relationship with these human beings were mostly elderly. Most of these elders had been forsaken by their family. All of these relationships reminded me of my elders and my family. The belief in my family was that these elders deserved my utmost care. How did I manage this? My family value was an ethic of care that seeded peace between me and the person I was serving, and oftentimes their family. So peace within and peace without. Last little snippet. In March of 1985, I had the privilege of giving birth to a handsome baby boy. Jordan, my son, was due to arrive March 4th. This kid did not arrive until March 27th. I know, he made his royal appearance and he was just such a happy baby. My labor with him was short and delivery was quick. When he was ready, he was ready. Today, he is well and thriving. As is the way of learning how to parent an adult offspring, our relationship has had its sharp edges. And this will roll around again. When I see him, my entire body, though, is flooded with oxytocin, that hormone of love, and I am at peace. How do I manage this? Now we accompany each other. We are teachers to each other. And I have learned how to listen, how to lead when necessary, and how to follow, and also how to stay home. How is peace possible in today's world is the question. We ask this question in a way that leads me to question, what is this thing called peace? What is it? What is peace? My Black, queer, elder, progressive body tells me that at 68 years of living in the United States of America, my sense of peace has been shaped by so many things. This is what I have learned. 1, peace is now, and it is everywhere. Be present. This moment that we're having right now is personal and a major player in today's world. What we are experiencing now, it will ripple between us and beyond us. This Zoom world, this world right here, that we have created right now is a piece of my peace for today. This moment will never come again, and it matters what I do with it. 2, that which you experience as peace must be felt and named as peace. I don't know what Dorothy thinks is peaceful. I don't know what Will thinks is peaceful. I can assume. I don't know what Sandra thinks is peaceful. I can muse about what Paul thinks is peaceful. But when we're feeling peace, it is important to feel it and to name it as such. Acknowledge when and where you experience peace and share it. Tell anyone your version of how peace looks, how peace smells, how peace tastes. I don't know if any of you have ever tasted my grandmother's pumpkin pie, but it is a piece of peace. How does peace sound? How does peace feel? How does peace perform in Sarah's world, in Nazir's world? We may want there to be a world policy that guides and shapes and demands that we be peaceful people, but yet each of us brings to the peace table a diverse understanding of what that word means. And our bodies knows what it means. 3, accept what is. Peace is a state of mind. Peace is a bodily experience. Peace is fluid. Peace is fleeting. Peace is cultural. Peace is shaped by color, gender, age, sexual orientation, body shape and size. Peace is shaped by economic status, physical and mental capacities. Peace is shaped by where you lived. Peace is shaped by migration, immigration, politics, spiritual things, religious things, so on and on. Peace resides in the tension with war and the casualties of war. 4, use your power and authority to facilitate changes that seed peace. Use your power and authority to facilitate changes that seed peace. Reverend Edward Everett Hale, author of the book, The Man Without a Country, wrote, I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can. So I beg you all, I implore you all, grow peace where you can. Don't wait to be in the world. I don't know where that is. Grow peace where you can. When you can. Don't wait until your back doesn't hurt. Don't wait until your legs are stronger. Grow peace in every way that you can. Bake some pumpkin pies. I'll take some sugar cookies. I'll take a smile. And know that whatever you're doing is enough. Is enough. And it will ripple in you. It will ripple between me and Channing. And it will ripple beyond. Because as I've already said, when you're feeling the peace, name it and tell someone. Shout it from the mountaintops. How is peace possible in today's world? I wish I had a clear, uncomplicated, fail-proof way, because we Westerners tend to be on the side that, give me something easy to do, Pastor Jacqueline. I want it easy and quick, and I want it now. I wish I could give that to you this morning, but I can't. I have served in federal prisons. I've served in local jails. I've worked for pay at Planned Parenthood. I have served in war. I've been a pen pal to a human sitting on death row. I have sat at the bedside of my mother as she died from a horrible cancer. I have accompanied parents whose child died from gun violence, and some who were murdered by the police. I've tended to the fear of humans making a way out of no way as they survive on the streets. I have brought compassion to the demons that arise as one withdraws from substance abuse. And in all of those situations, I've found my way and brought others along to peace. Being peace, doing peace is a personal, long-haul spiritual project. Biden is not going to create some stimulus package that's going to buy us into peace. It's not happening. Peace is a fruit of trust. At the beginning, I invited you to ask me questions, because it is in that place of being personal, of getting to know, that trust can grow. Trusting relationships can bring forth peace. So I invite you all to go forth and make personal relationships. Peace is present now. I invite you to notice how you're feeling. Just notice. Is there some war somewhere in your body? Which is different from pain. I'm a person who suffers from sciatica, so I know how pain can be distracting. And my partner can sometimes think I'm at war with her, but often it's just pain. Peace is present now. Accept that peace has multiple layers and diverse presentations. How I feel peaceful may not be how Barbara feels peaceful or how Mary feels peaceful. Learn the peace language of those that you are in relationship with. Keep learning the language of peace. Name it and shout it from the mountaintop. Sing it while you're in the shower. Walk it, move it, roll it. Our world will become a more peaceful place the more often you speak about peace. Acknowledge peace no matter how big or small. Your question is, how do we see peace in the world? The world is huge. How about you start in yourself, then move to your family, then move to the community of Rossmore, and then move beyond Rossmore. And what is there anything beyond Rossmore? Whatever that might be, how do you grow these ripples of peaceful engagement? Being peace, hearing peace, seeing peace, tasting peace, and giving peace. How do you each do that? As you do that, peace will grow bigger and bigger, wider and deeper and stronger. My orthopedics person sent me to a water aerobics class. And I'm going like, I can barely walk. Why are you sending me to a water aerobics class? I'm gonna just fall down, I'm gonna drown. I mean, I was just all worked up, And he says, I want you to exercise that muscle that it gets stronger. That's exactly what I did even in the doctor's office. You know, but I'm inviting you to exercise your peace muscle, that it may grow stronger, and we can use what chanting is offering. We can accompany others as they are nurturing their peace muscle as well. Each of us are one. And as one, we have the power to do what we can to plant seeds, to grow seeds, and to nurture seeds. I suggest you all hop to it. And if you need a garden where to plant some seeds, I'll invite you over. I have a huge garden. In closing, because I want to leave there to be ample time to continue to grow relationships and to hear from you about how you are growing peace. In closing, I've taken this quote from you may know the magazine, Yes Magazine. Does anybody know Yes Magazine? Okay. If you don't, I encourage you to go someplace if you're getting out these days and just thumb through a Yes Magazine. But this came from the winter 2020 Yes Magazine. It's an article entitled, Yes, You Can Change Someone's Mind, but Facts Are Not Enough. Amanda Abrams, the author, says, we develop beliefs through our feelings, not our brains. And that's how we're changed as well, by connecting with others and having an emotional experience. So I'm going to read that one more time and a little bit slower. We develop beliefs through our feelings, not our brains. And that's how we're changed as well, by connecting with others and having an emotional experience. I really appreciate you listening to my words. I invite you to go forth and share a peaceful experience with someone and be changed. And then move forward and change the world.
Thank you so much, Pastor Jacqueline. It was rich and deep and broad. I really appreciate your sharing of your personal experience. We have about 10 minutes for questions to Pastor Jacqueline or comments of your own on peace. So remember about finding the little hand, the reactions, and you click on that, and then the hand comes up in the corner over there and lets us know that you want to say something or just blurt it out. Channing.
Jacqueline,
Yes.
thank you. You bring hope to this question. I love the fact that you're not trying to solve all the world's problems with the question. I love the fact that you're focused on each individual heart and the connection of those hearts and the growing of those hearts in the world. That's my mission.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so hopeful because I love the emphasis on the now, living in the present moment and being at peace in the present moment. I love when you talked about when your father came back from that horrendous experience and the family was waiting in the car and how joyful you were and how dignified he was. That gave your family hope.
Yes.
You've brought great hope to my heart and to the work that I do. And I can't wait to see you soon.
Thank you, Channing. Yeah, Sandra, go ahead.
I'm retired, but I ran a theater in New York City, and so I made an international playwriting contest, and I get about 200 scripts a year that I read. Yeah, even more. I'm right in the middle of it, and I'm like, but what I've noticed is what I've seen my attention slip away a lot is when these plays don't have an emotional life to them. And it's very hard to read them. So one of my goals is to write to, it's like a spiritual goal, is I write to the playwrights and I talk about exactly what you said about connecting through an emotional level makes huge difference with people. And I love the way you said it. I love the way that you worded it. I wish I had it on tape. Well, actually, I probably can at some point, right? Right? Isn't this being
It is being recorded,
recorded?
Sandra, and Will records it as well as Channel 28, but Will records it and it's available by the end of the day. So
Oh, thank you.
I'll make a note to send that this
Thank you.
program to you.
Yeah, but I've noticed in particular in this generation, there's a pulling away from having feelings, you know, and like I'll receive scripts, let's say, that like the Holocaust or something, and I will get comments back of been there, done that from others because they've seen this movie and that movie. And so it's important, especially, well, for everyone, but this young generation needs to get connected and back to their emotional life since they've been in their computer, you know, or their iPhone, and they're not making that connection. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. So we have a few more minutes. Oh, go ahead, Dorothy.
I would be curious about your comments when you find resistance in your attempts to create peace.
Thank you, Dorothy. Great question. I don't know that I find resistance to create peace. I find that I sometimes get impatient with understanding and being understood. I've not met anyone who was not interested in peace. But did I understand the flavor or the journey by which they wanted to get there? No. An example, I served as the lead minister at a church in Oakland, downtown church, and we worked really hard with the supervisors regarding the conditions in the jail. You know, so the supervisors had their idea. This other group, Ella Baker Center, had their ideas. The First Unitarian Church of Oakland had our ideas, you know, and then there was an interfaith coalition that had their ideas. And we would come together and we thought we were coming together, being peaceful, hearing each other's, but we were not. We thought that our idea was the right idea. And so it took us probably over a year to recognize that and to pull ourselves out of imposing, kind of like, I think maybe Sandra talked about, this kind of authoritarian, fascist way of doing business. Like, no, can we keep the conversation going so that we come to something that is mutually accepted? And so not so much resistance to peace, but a resistance to doing things my way, which could seem like, oh, we're not interested in peace, but I've not found that to be true. So I've had to learn how to be more patient and more calm, and more caring. Yeah.
Yeah, all of us. Thank you, Pastor Jacqueline. So now I think it is time to introduce the Reverends Abigail and Steve Albert. Reverends Abigail and Steve Albert are the co-ministers of the All Faith Center in Poway, California. Who's heard of Poway? I hadn't. And founders of the Poway Interfaith team, referred to as Point, P-O-I-N-T. Reverend Abigail is Point's executive director, and Reverend Steve is the director of the World Interfaith, which is a global database of interfaith and peace organizations. Dr. Abigail presented at 3 of the Parliament of World's Religions. Dr. Steve has 3 college degrees and taught college for 44 years. Once again, how do you guys do all of this? Together, they co-chaired the NANE Connect conference in San Diego in 2017. Rallying the mayors of the San Diego cities, they created Interfaith Awareness Week in 2017, which has grown from a local celebration into a global program. This past August, they directed the 6th annual Interfaith Awareness Week as a 7-day, 12 hours a day global interfaith celebration with many, many programs. The Big Questions was invited to participate, which we did, and Will McGarvey participated also. Together, they are the authors of 20 books, including Reboot to Interfaith. So welcome to Dr. Steve Albert and Abigail Albert.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Wow. Did we do that?
Yeah, I know. Yes. Amazing.
Oh, one step at a time, right?
It builds up.
It does. It does. Well, we're very happy to be here today with all of you to see your lovely faces. And we do have a PowerPoint presentation that we would like to take you on as a little journey. The first, you just saw the first slide. It was our bio, which you beautifully read. So thank you for that. And so we're going to present first. And then if you have any questions or comments, of course, afterwards, please do so. So we're very happy to be here with you today.
Well, one of the things that I'd like to say is, Pastor Jacqueline, you have done so much beautiful work.
Yeah.
You may hear a lot of the things in our presentation that you presented, and it seems that we're very much alike. But the idea is that peace versus war is always a choice that we make within our hearts, within our day of meeting people and everything else. And as long as there's profit in war, the world will never know peace. It was Jacqueline Kennedy that said, mankind must put an end to war before war puts an end to mankind.
And I wanted to include some quotes that when I read them, they really touched me. And so I'm going to share them with you. The first one, consciousness is the key. And Steve and I come from the New Thought tradition, which includes unity, religious science, many of the churches you will hear as centers for spiritual living. So consciousness is a big thing with New Thought people. So consciousness, how we think, how we feel, our mind and heart is the key. We cannot save our world with fragmented minds and fearful emotions. You may not be responsible for world peace, but you are responsible for your own peace, whatever it's the small piece or the large piece. And I love that from the NANE network. From Wayne Dyer, how do you get world peace? You get world peace through inner peace. And we said this a lot. If you've got a world full of people who have inner peace, then you have a peaceful world. That makes sense. So, and one of our main, very noted ministers in New Thought is Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith. And I love this because it said, peace is not the absence of war. It is what we radiate in the midst of conflict. And that means whatever conflict you happen to be in, whether it's at work, with your family, somebody on the street, how can you radiate peace when around you something is going on? We need to be the middle of the cyclone where it's always peaceful. Be the change you wish to see in the world, which we've heard over and over, and it's very true. And change your thinking, change your life. We hear that a lot in our New Thought tradition. Ernest Holmes is the founder of religious science. And so that was one of our main thoughts. Change your thinking, change your consciousness, change your life.
Well, you know, I don't know what different religions we have with us today, but if anybody who has done any kind of work looking at the different religions, realize that the avatars asked all of their people to be peaceful. Baha'u'llah, condemn and eradicate all forms of prejudice. Buddha, give up wrong and harmful thoughts, words, and deeds. Confucius, when the unenlightened desire is ceased, suffering ceases as well. Guru Nanak said we are all one, created by the one creator of all creations. Jesus, of course, said, love your neighbor as yourself. All existence, Krishna said, comes from the same external spiritual truth, Brahman. Lao Tzu said, care for the earth and all life around you. Mahavira, we should love and respect all living beings. Moses, from the Ten Commandments, says, you shall not murder. Muhammad says all humans are equal. And from the Native American truth that we are placed on this planet to live in harmony with and respect all life around us. In New Thought, we're told, honor and respect all faiths, cultures, and creeds. And Ernest Holmes said the philosophy of religious science, or unity, or New Thought, whichever way you want to describe it, is a synthesis of the greatest concepts that have ever come to the mind of humankind. The law of Moses, the love of Christ, the ethics of Buddha, the morals of Confucius, and the deep spiritual realization of the Hindus. They all find an exalted place in the philosophy of religious science.
Now, religious science, or the science of mind, which is New Thought, I wanted to present 4 of our basic beliefs, because if we're coming from a New Thought perspective on the idea of can we bring peace into the world, I needed to let you know where we are coming from and why we are believing the answer to that is yes. Number 1, we believe all people are individualizations of the one spirit, God. The life of all is God. And I remember what you were asking, Sarah, what about those who commit murder and are in the wars or, doing harm to other people? We're all individualizations of the one spirit, God, but we all have a choice to either go in that direction or to not go in that direction. Our second, we believe the eternality and immortality of our soul forever expanding. So whatever way we are thinking today, we can make a change tomorrow. It can expand, it can grow. Our consciousness can rise higher into the consciousness more of love and peace and kindness. We believe heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree we become conscious of it. Again, we have to be conscious that, oh, I'm living in this world, and this world is the world of God. And so heaven is within us. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that goal is sure to be attained by all. That means everybody, everyone who's doing what we consider wrong today, they have a choice. It's like a light switch. Some people are still roaming around in the dark. And when their consciousness gets to that aha moment and something flickers within them and the light goes on, they say, oh my gosh, I don't have to do this anymore. I know who I am. I am a being of God, and I'm here on earth to do good and be at peace. So how can we bring love and patience and kindness and compassion into this world? None of those beautiful qualities are something that can be ordered by head of a country, a company that we work for, or even a faith leader. Faith leaders cannot make people be peaceful. We can talk about it, but everyone has a choice. We as individuals must become peaceful and loving, patient and kind, and compassionate by choice. God has given us free will. We have the choice to make. It always begins with me. It begins with you and all other people around the world, because everyone is making choices, and it is to be the change you wish to see in the world. And we are all, and I love this because I truly believe in this, we are all interconnected and energetic vibrational beings. No one is an island anymore. What affects one affects all, and energy is consciousness activated and sent out unconsciously to others. And I know all of us have had experiences where we're standing in line and all of a sudden we feel like prickles in the back of our neck and like, ooh, what is that? And there's just somebody that's close to you that just gives you the EBGBs, right? You just don't want to be near that person. And then there's other people that we're so drawn to, we can hardly wait to stand next to them. So this is the energy that people create within themselves and surround themselves. And this energy goes out to everybody. I'm not done, Steve, go back. Go back. And it goes out, and it does have that butterfly effect where one action in one part of the world really makes a difference in actions on the other side of the world. Wherever we are rippling out who we are all the time. So we need to make that choice to be kind, so it ripples out, to be at peace, so it ripples out. Okay. So we want to focus on what we want to see. We want to vision peace in people, vision the peace that's within ourselves, vision a peace in the country. We have to vision it, believe in it. Divine love, peace, perfection, and not what it looks like, but what we want it to be like, what we want it to feel like. That's the process of creating peace. And we have to train our mind to do that, and then train our heart to be in the middle of peace, even if the conflict is around us. Because if you believe you are a peacemaker, then you are. Then you are.
Each and every one of us is the unique creation of the divine. Our core essence and energy are made up of divine love and peace. Therefore, we are love and peace in action, whether or not we are aware of it. This comes from Reverend Gay Beauregard. We look at the news, we hear of a friend's terminal diagnosis. We wish that things were different than they are. And this creates anxiety, depression, hopelessness, and so on. Thank goodness there is a remedy, a way out of these feelings of hopelessness and helplessness. It's called letting go. It's called admitting that there is no earthly way for us to figure out all the problems of the world. So if all people had the consciousness of the avatars, we would all live in peace, right? Assuming that we're open to peace. But what if, and I ask you to think about this for a moment, what if you were born into a family that was raised a violent home? What if you were either beaten or ignored for your actions? What if, in order to experience pleasure, you had to take stuff away from others? What if your family spoke badly about people who were not exactly like them? What if your life was uncertain from day to day and being happy was really not a possibility? Well, in New Thought, we emphasize that if you change your consciousness, you change your life. When you let go of the mental junk and clear your minds toward compassion, you can have a different type of life. What if your mind instead were to attract people into your life who show you love and caring? Only that kind of people. What if in your mind you felt safe and protected wherever you went? What if in your mind you chose to have your basic needs met? What if in your mind you welcome people who were unlike your family as friends? envision an exciting, carefree future where there are absolutely no limits. Do you think you can do that in your mind? So here's the truth. Every positive experience, invention, except everything like that, that has ever happened in the world has always been preceded by a negative one. A cure is not sought after until after there is a disease. Think about polio. Think about all the problems we've had, including COVID. It wasn't until they existed that science went in and found a cure for that disease. The whole idea of inventions, we invent something and then we invent something better, and then something better, and then something better. And if I'm telling you that if you are not at peace now, you soon will be. Believe it. It's up to you.
So the question again is, could peace become a reality? So like Steve said, if you know it and if you believe it, peace is possible. So we need to accept it into our life. Sometimes we get the yes, but what if you did not yes, but everything? Now, and Bettina Gray, bless your heart, we had to take this quote from you from one of your presentations. If fixing this world is a goal, we have to grow up spiritually. I love that. And that means raising our consciousness to one of peace, love, and compassion. And Father Thomas Bonacci said, if you begin a war with someone, you can begin a war with someone, or you can give them a hug. You can start a fight, or you can stop it before it starts. We have a choice. Are you more at peace when you spend time with people that are happy and positive and you like being with? Do you walk away happier and more joy-filled? So the question is, why do you spend time with people that are not like that, that bring you down or tell you you can't do that, or you're not worth it, or you need to get away from those people and get away from watching too much TV and reading too much of the news? Yes, we need to be informed. However, we need to really focus our mind on keeping the peace in our heart and mind at all times. And it's our attitude, it's our choice. Mother Teresa says, if you hold an anti-war rally, I shall not attend. But if you hold a pro-peace rally, be sure to invite me. I love that from her.
Well, having just done a wonderful program that was globally accepted, I have to emphasize that the peace that we're looking for is already happening now. Hands of Peace, for example, has a summer intensive 3-week program that brings teens from Israel, Palestine, and others to dialogue in the US to learn about each other and be the agents of change. The Abrahamic reunions sponsor youth from Israel and Palestine to come together to meet each other, to know what's happening. And the program that we just finished last month brought together more than 40 interfaith groups around the world to collaborate on peace throughout the United States, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, England, Israel, Pakistan, Australia. I'm telling you that it is happening now, and you need to get on the bandwagon if you've not already done it.
And there's a beautiful movie, many of you probably have seen this, called Pay It Forward. It's about a social studies teacher who gives an assignment to his junior high class to think of an idea to change the world for the better and then put it into action. When one young student creates a plan of paying it forward, he not only affects the life of his struggling single mother, but he sets in motion an unprecedented wave of human kindness, which, unbeknownst to him, has blossomed into a profound national phenomenon. I mean, after this movie, everybody knows what it means to pay it forward. Pay for the person's coffee behind you in Starbucks. Pay for the person's toll booth. Pay for something. I mean, let people in line if they have less to buy than you at the grocery store. I mean, how many times can you do an act of kindness? It's all about paying it forward. And this is the ripple effect will start, just like the butterfly effect. You did one good deed and it's going to spread around the world.
You know, some say that all we can do is pray. Well, Mother Teresa said, I used to believe that prayer changes things, but now I know that prayer changes us and we change things. Pray and move your feet, do something, or new thought beliefs. Get off your bottom and do the peace work that you know needs to be done. The Dalai Lama said, my religion is very simple. My religion is kindness. And for those of you who love the golden rule, I'm going to ask you to follow the platinum rule. That is to do unto others as they would like you to do unto them. One of the beautiful things that I think is beautiful about New Thought is that people like to hug one another when they meet. Well, that's not true of other religions. And so we must become educated in how other people want to be treated so that we don't treat them the way we want to be treated. Need to dialogue and share a meal with them together. Find out things that are non-faith related. How many kids were in your family growing up? Oh, really? I had 2 brothers too. Did you have a good, bad teacher in school? Yeah, wow. In 4th grade, remember? Oh, she was terrible. What do you want for your family? What do you want for the world? What common interests do you have, or what projects could you do together? Maybe clean up the environment and think globally. Feed the homeless, care for the elderly, walk for peace, show yourself, ask what is mine to do today? There's so many ways that we can do work together. Let's go out and let's be peaceful that way. Stop using the negative, non-peaceful words. Write peaceful op-ed pieces for newspapers. Donate to local food banks. Donate no longer used clothing, books. Donate your time, share stories. And probably more than anything else, listen. Listen to other people. What do they want? What are they doing? I'm telling you now, if your first thoughts waking up in the morning are about how bad the day is going to be, then you cannot have peace. Imagine if your first thoughts were of peace. You think maybe your day would be more peace-filled?
Ernest Holmes, founder of religious science, says, look into the world as if through an open door, not like you are looking through a keyhole. Realize the whole picture and your part in it. Research and recognize the real truth in all situations. Remember, the peace is within you now. And we want to end with a kinship prayer, and we're going to ask you to participate with us. We're also going to say, please do not unmute yourself. Keep yourself muted, because this is going to be a call and response. So when we respond, you'll be saying it muted. So we don't have 50 people with different cadences going. So this is a prayer that was inspired by the Parliament of World Religions, composed by Dr. V.V. Raman at the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa in 1999. And so what we're going to do, Steve is going to read the red line, and then I'm going to read the blue line, and I would like you, if you wish to participate, read the blue line with me.
Okay. In striving to recognize the primacy of fire and light,
I feel kinship with my Zoroastrian brothers and sisters.
Can you show us the screen? Because we can't see what we're supposed to be reading along with.
Oh, you can't
It-
see the share screen?
It's part of the slide set.
I can see it.
I can also see it, but it is small.
Huh. I wonder why.
Oh, well, I tell you what, how about we'll read it and
I
you
see it
listen.
now.
If you can read it, say it with us, otherwise just enjoy this prayer of kinship with people of all faith traditions. So we'll start again.
In striving to recognize the primacy of fire and light,
I feel
I feel kinship with my Zoroastrian
Zoroastrian
brothers and sisters.
Please
in
mute it.
striving to obey the 10 Commandments,
I feel kinship with my Jewish brothers and sisters.
in striving to be kind to neighbors and the needy,
I feel kinship with my Christian brothers and sisters.
in striving to be compassionate to creatures great and small,
I feel kinship with my Buddhist Jain brothers and sisters.
in striving to surrender myself completely to God Almighty,
I feel kinship with my Muslim brothers and sisters.
in the recognition that wisdom flows from enlightened masters,
I feel kinship with my Sikh brothers and sisters.
in remembering that serving people should be the goal of religion,
I feel kinship with my Baha'i brothers and sisters.
in knowing the power of our mind and heart to create our life,
I feel kinship with my New Thought brothers and sisters.
in my respect and reverence for nature that sustains us,
I feel kinship with my Native American brothers and sisters.
in feeling that these and more are all paths to the same divinity,
I feel kinship with my Hindu brothers and sisters.
in my love and laughter, joy and pain,
I feel kinship with all my fellow humans.
in my need for nourishment and instinct to live on,
I feel kinship with all beings on this planet.
and in my spiritual ecstasy with this wondrous world.
I feel kinship with a cosmic whole.
And so it is.
So it is. Thank you all.
And one last thought. Wednesday, tomorrow, is International
2
Day
days.
of Peace.
In 2 days.
Celebrated.
Thank you so much, Reverends Abigail and Steve. That was a lovely presentation. I don't know if it would be possible to send that to me. There's a couple of things that I would really like to memorize.
Sure.
It's one of my practices of memorizing things.
Sure.
We'd be
to
happy
send you.
to.
Sure.
Thank you, thank you. And then, you folks can let me know if you're interested in, I can send you on a copy. So what responses do you have? What questions do you have? What comments do you have for Reverend Steve and Abigail Albert?
Well, I really enjoyed all the thoughtful messages. They all seemed very wise and insightful, and something that I would like to carry with me through the rest of my life. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing those.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Go ahead, Bettina. You're muted.
I just put in chat a poem that I like a great deal. I ended up doing an interview with a guest once, and I did the first line and couldn't remember it. And he stepped in and did the second line because he knew the poem too. And then he couldn't remember it, so I filled in with the third line. It's a favorite poem, but I'll read it. He drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But Love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle and took him in. And I think that's what all three of our speakers have been saying today, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. I love that. I'm copying that. I love that. Thank you.
And it's so true, isn't it? That it's those that are on the outside of the circle that need us, need peace. They're on the outside. They need to be included, and yet they are often the hardest people to include because of their disposition or because of whatever, because they're so negative, so screwed up.
Well, I do have a question and a problem that's been puzzling me a lot. And I almost didn't say it because I find it hard to articulate. Because the best way would be to say that there are those who see peace as weakness. There are political folks and others who see their advantage in those who advocate and work for peace and will take that advantage. And even Jesus talked about being wise as well as peaceful. And that balance has always puzzled me. I was only recently reminded of it by a book titled What War Taught Me About Peace by the Robert Mueller, Assistant Secretary General of the UN and one of the early founders of the UN, and spent his entire life working for peace. And he brings up in his book that the egalitarian French Enlightenment, let people live, was precisely an invitation to the Germans to abuse, in his experience. And it raises a conundrum. How do we be both wise and peaceful?
Everybody has to make that answer for themselves. I just keep thinking when you were saying that the people that are tearing others down to lift themselves up, they're coming from a place of fear and not having enough. And that's a very sad place to come from. When we realize there's enough for everybody and everybody, can share and there's plenty for everybody. But that's where your quote came in. We have to raise up our spiritual consciousness, knowing that there is enough for everybody. And until that light goes on and the people that are hurting others or tearing people down, all we can do is shine our light and what we believe to be true and just let that ripple out and hope they feel that energy from us. But we can't make them do what we wish them to do. We can only just hold them in our hearts and know that in time, through evolution, they too will learn and grow spiritually.
Sadly, for some of them, it's about power and control, and
that's still fear. That's still based on fear. It's either you're in fear or you're in love, and the negatives are the fear part, and all the others are the love part.
Well, it's based on greed, which is self-orientation.
Greed because you think you need to have more, because you don't feel like you have enough. It's still fear-based.
I struggle with the same challenge that other speaker mentioned. How do I recognize that today innocent children are being murdered and Ukrainian citizens being tortured, and look at the founder of this practice, who is one single man who clearly is very greedy? How can I convert the horror of this that I have to experience as a human being? I am not immune to this. How can I convert that myself into a motive for peace? Is it enough to just say I will ripple out kindness towards Putin?
Go ahead, Pastor Jacqueline.
Perhaps this peace conversation is huge, and we might be conflating a few things. There can be peace, and then there's still evil in the world.
Yes.
There can be peace, and there's still evil. And this idea that if someone is doing evil, then I can get to feel self-righteous and I'm not going to send my love or my wonderful, peaceful thoughts toward them. I mean, that is a consciousness, as the reverends have just spoke about. So how do I work with my consciousness and that which is in me that is resistant to love? That is resistant to love. I mean, there are all kinds of scriptures, you know. If there is some truth in that God created all of us magnificently, divinely, you know, if we hold that as being true, then in that divinity, there's still some, I'll just use this tried and true, there's still some shit, you know? You know, we are evolving and we're not all on the same spiritual plane. So how do we accompany those who are a little less evolved or are overly evolved in some kind of way? You know, it is a conundrum, Valerie, for me to look at Trump and say, you know, his mother loved him in some kind of way. She did.
Yeah.
You know, she did.
And the process of evolution is what we've chosen to participate in at this time anyway.
Yeah. So I'm inviting us all into this place of grace for each other and for those that we accompany.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, definitely.
Dr. Steve, did you want to say something?
Yeah, and you know, a lot of this comes from the way we grow up as children. We emulate things that give us good results. So if we're bad children and we get punished for doing something, we tend to change our behavior and do it differently. Hopefully, people continue to learn the good way to do things, and hopefully the teachers, the parents, show things in a way that we would want to emulate. So when I see somebody who's making a lot of money, I don't initially say, that guy's no good. He's got more money than me. The hell with him. And I want to know how to do it. I want to know, I would like to be like you. I would like to be part of the good that is happening, because the good brings me more people who share in my love, who share in my compassion, who share in my helping other people. And the more I do that, if there's more and more and more people showing the right way to go about it, perhaps we can counterbalance the scales that are bringing in people that are evil. And obviously there are, no question about it. Perhaps that their training was not a positive training. It was get what you can and get out. Hurt others and get yours. I tend to not want to deal with people like that.
Will, did you have something to say a few minutes ago?
I put the link to our International Day of Peace program, which will feature Dr. Maha Hilal and Fresh Love White, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. It's all online. The link is in our chat room. It's free, and this should be a really good conversation on the same question, is peace possible? But especially looking at Islamophobia and the fears, well, not the fears, the systems of the Islamophobia industry and how that has held such sway over our culture for the last 25, 30 years. Should be very interesting conversation.
Thank you. And what time is that? Or maybe you say that.
7 p.m.
7 o'clock.
And it's all online.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Will. So we're getting to a time of, closing, but we do have more time. Linda, it's good to see you. Hi. And Channing, you have hand up? Go ahead.
Yes. part of the way my mind works is very integrative. And as I'm listening to everyone speak today, I'm really bringing all the elements together, not just our 2 speakers or 3 speakers, but all of the questions of everything. And I wanted to offer a couple of things that I'm thinking about. And two of those things are, number one, peace and evil can exist together. And the only way for peace to survive is to have courage, to be strong, to not be afraid, and to go forward in a peaceful manner. And in that aspect, it also has to have boundaries. We have to know what we believe, and we have to live by what we believe. As you said, you know, evil comes from fear, and we can understand what's going on with the other person, but we can't allow them to take over our lives.
Right.
So we have to establish boundaries, but we need to do that in a peaceful way. So in everyday life, I look for the way that I can coexist in integrating peace against, you know, people that are, you know, they're not behaving the way that make me feel peaceful. I have to establish boundaries. And as you said, sometimes that means I need to exclude those people from my life. And that would be drastic because I won't be then inviting them into my circle. But I think this comes from a raised spiritual consciousness. And all of us human beings in the world today, this world is about all of us raising our spiritual consciousness. And the second thing is, as human beings, we need exemplars. We need people to follow. We need examples. And so I look to those people in the modern world that I see who have courage, who have backbone, who are standing up, and who are angry, but not hostile. Anger is a good thing, but it's not hostility. So I think that it's a matter of balancing these things within ourselves, within our heart, and also understanding and knowing that we have so far to go. So each individual, our responsibility is to grow our hearts and our minds and our beings spiritually to become new human beings. And that's what I think is going to change the world.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Channing.
Thank
Great.
you. Yeah.
And I would just like to add that I think the way to find that ability to deal with evil and conflict is to come from the fragment of God that indwells everyone. That we all have a little fragment of God within us. And if we let that be our guide, then we can handle things like the difficult things that surround us better. Anyway.
Thank you. Thank
Elizabeth.
you, Elizabeth. Yes. Yes.
Elizabeth, you sound very Unitarian Universalist. And as we close, I really appreciate that, the spark of the divine in all of us. And I've also hear us talking a little bit about how willing are we to take risks? Because to have courage, to be out there talking to people, you risk being changed.
Yeah.
You know, and how many of us are really ready to be changed, to become Muslim or to become Lutheran or Methodist or spiritual, not religious? To be out there in the world, you risk, you know, being changed by another. And oftentimes we're just not interested in being changed. We like how we are. I like my money, I like my house, I like my neighborhood. You know, I like that my son is marrying a heterosexual girl, you know. And so one of the bottom lines is, are you willing to risk being changed? When my son told me he was queer, I'm going like, what? I'm going, and it took me a while to say, okay, all right, this is your life, not my life, it's your life. What is that going to do to our relationship? It took me a minute. It took me a while. He called me up and says, Mom, are you okay? I didn't think this would be a problem for him. I'm going, oh, it's not. Really did. He said, it really defied my thinking in the moment. I'm cool now, but to risk being changed.
Mhm.
Risk.
And change is gonna happen no matter what. And we just have to just flow with it and just realize that everything changes. Everything changes. And
Not me, Abigail.
oh, not you. Oh, okay. We've had so many changes in our life. We're like, what? That person, what?
Me too. I agree.
Well, thank you so much. It's a perfect way to end with people chuckling. I love it. And
I want to say hi to Dick. Hi, Dick Bailey.
oh yeah, Dick. Yeah.
You know, Sarah, there's one other way to end this.
Okay.
And that
Oh
is,
no,
There we go.
Steve, the food. Oh,
I believe that cherries can cause peace.
oh,
Sweetness.
sweetness. Yes. Thank you,
Yes.
Steve, for bringing that up. So we will be meeting one more time this year. That is, let's see, October. I don't have my schedule in front of me. And we will have a representative from Zoroastrian, and I believe from Zoroastrianism, and I believe a representative from the Sikh religion.
Oh, good.
I'm
Good.
pretty sure it's Sikh. So I will I'll send out the notice about a week ahead. And this is so exciting. I mean, you know, I love it when people participate with the speakers. They're not just asking, you know, the speakers for their opinions. You're sharing your experience and your, you know, your opinions. And so this is one of our goals. The Big Questions Committee is to create a safe place, but a stimulating and an interesting place for dialogue. So yes, you can talk about religion and politics. I mean, those are the two interesting things in the world to talk about. You're always told not to talk about them. Well, so it's wonderful to have a place where we can talk about religion and feel that we can be our honest, true selves. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Will, everybody.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
my
you,
joy.
Sarah.
Thank you,
Bye.
Sarah.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
See you in a month.
You got it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Steve and Abigail.
Absolutely, and
you.
thank you, Jacqueline.
And
Thank
Jacqueline.
you, Jacqueline.
Oh,
Thank you.
Jacqueline, I'll get that. I'm gonna work
No,
on it.
Jacqueline. Don't
Jacqueline.
forget the L, Jacqueline.
Jacqueline. I'll be working on
Jacqueline.
it at 3 o'clock in the morning when I wake up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, Bettina.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye.